Good morning. This is the review of the orderIT trading system for December the 24th, 2020. We've had 7 trades on that day. 1 was a buy and 6 were short sells. The first trade is ALB. That's Albemarle Corporation. Tripped at 11:31:41 a.m. at a price of $148.75. It was a short sell. It closed the day at $149.64, so up, but it was still down from previous close 0.18, so it does show that it was down or moving down to some extent, but we have to see if it actually dropped below its tripping price during the time after. So here, ooh, look. Yeah, look at that. 11:31 up here. 148.41. There's actually almost half an hour of time that it was down below the tripping, even though it's, only once during the trading day. The rest of the time after that it was above it. I'm going to consider that a positive because I believe there was enough time to get out on that stock, even though very minimal to some extent. But again, it was down consistently for that good almost half an hour of time. The indicators are showing that OBV somewhat just moving sideways end of day or afternoon. Looks like it was coming up. MACD, yeah, you can see dropping late morning. Late morning it dropped, and then afternoon it came up. So basically you got yourself a V movement there, but it didn't. It was showing a drop. The same thing with DI. DI showing morning. It was down, bouncing back and forth a little bit, and came up at the end of the day. Bollinger Band showing that kind of activity, but obviously price rise. It did drop and then recovered. So it's showing pretty much what it was doing. It dropped and recovered, but again, there was a good period of time it was down below its tripping price. Next trade is BX. That's the Blackstone Group Incorporated. It tripped at 11:35:53 a.m. at a price of $64.78. It was a short sell. It closed the day at $64.99, down 0.09%. It did not close below its tripping, so we'll have to see if there's a period of time it was down. So 11:35, roughly in this area. 64.61, so it was down there, down there, down there, down there, down there, down, then came up here. And drop down again here, but we're talking at least an hour to maybe an hour and a half of time that was down below its tripping price. I'm going to consider that a positive trade because it was a period of time during the day that it was below tripping, which would have been a positive outcome. We'll check the indicator to see if the indicators are showing the same thing. OBV showing sideways and then recovery at the end of the day. MACD showed that morning it dropped and afternoon period it recovered, so another V operation. DI is showing it actually very strongly moving negative when it was moving down. Then you can see it was making that recovery at the end of the day. Bollinger Band showing the same thing. It basically dropped in the late morning and then a bit of recovery, not as strong as may have been indicated from the other indicators, but it was recovering, but not extensively. That to me is a good downward trending stock overall. Next trade is GPS. Excuse me. That's the Gap Incorporated. That tripped at 12:05:16 p.m. at a price of $20.34. It was a short sell. It closed the day at $20.43. It was down 1.30%. It did close above trading tripping price, so we'll have to see if there was a period of time that it was down below that. 12:05, so Yeah, 2042, 2032, 2032, 2029, so there's a small period there. 2030, 2030, 2030, 2030, 2027, okay. So we're talking almost again another hour of time that was down below its tripping price. Excuse me again. It just happened to be at the end of the day, you could see it was recovering or recovered, so it just happens to be a consequence. But I still consider it a positive opportunity because there was a good period of time during the trading day that it was down below its tripping price, which would have been a positive outcome. OBV, again, yeah, showing that downward trend and an end-of-day recovery. MACD showing the same thing. It actually just dropped for the whole period of the morning till early afternoon. Then that bit of a recovery at the end of the day. DI, showing it was positive, the opening, but then it just shipped into a downward trend. And again, that end of day it rise. So this is stock that was recovering at the end of the day a little bit. Bollinger Band shows you the real picture. It was just dropping for a good period of time, and then that recovery at the end of the day. Next trade is CZR. That's Caesars Entertainment Incorporated. Tripped at 12:25:06 p.m. at a price of $75.70. It was a short sell. It closed the day at $75.84, down 1.10%. So it was down from previous close, but it ended the day above its tripping price, so we'll have to see again if there's a period of time that it was down below, so 12. Okay, so yeah, so drop down there, came up a little bit, then drop down there, So almost again another hour of time where it was down below its tripping price. Which to me, that's more than enough time to get out. I consider that a positive outcome. Again, as you can see at the end of the day, it did recover a little bit, so that's the way that stock happened to move. OBV, you can see it dropped, moved sideways, and again that little bit of recovery in the day. MACD showing the same thing. It was pretty much dropping for most of the period of time. It was trading, and the end of the day recovered. DI showing the same kind of thing. It was moving fairly negative for most of the time, and again it actually moved fairly heavily negative in the afternoon period. Bollinger Band showing the same thing. It just basically was moving downwards, and then that end of day recovery. So there was opportunity on that stock. Next trade is BE. That is Bloom Energy Corporation. They tripped at 12:30:07 p.m. at a price of $30.25. It was a short sell. It closed the day at $30.52. It was down 0.23%. See if there's any period of time it was down below that tripping price. So see, it was above. Doesn't look it. It looks 30.10, 30.22. There's a good 15-20 minutes in here that it was down below and just recovered. You know what, I'm going to consider that a positive, because I usually say if it's at least 10 minutes, it's good. And again, it was down a good 50, it was down almost 12:36. It was down at least 10 minutes. Yeah, it was good, roughly about 10 minutes of time it was down. We're not talking a strong positive, but I still consider that a positive because, to me, that's still enough time, and it wasn't that it was bouncing up and down. It was down a good 10 minutes down below the tripping price. Which to me, it's more than enough time to get out of the stock. I'm going to check the indicators for that one. 12:07. OBD shows sideways and dropping after end of day recovery. MACD just showing it just dropped and at the end of day recovery. DI, it started moving negative in the end of the day, and then that little recovery you saw at the end of the day it was making. And Bollinger Band actually showing moving more sideways. So Bollinger Band showing that stock wasn't moving drastically. So not much chaotic activity on that stock. Next trade is INSG, and that is in Seagull Corporation. It tripped at 12:41:16 p.m. at a price of $16.66. It was a buy trade. It closed the day at 16.81, up 30.30%. So it actually closed above its tripping. So that's another positive. We'll check the indicators. Indicators, OBD showing a good upwards movement, MACD showing a good upwards movement, DI showing upwards movements, Bollinger Band showing that stock was just moving up. There's no other conclusion from that. Next trade is M, and that is Macy's Incorporated. It tripped at 12:45 p.m. at a price of $10.72. It was a short sell. It closed the day at $10.75. Down 3.41%, but it did close above its tripping price, so we'll see if at time it goes down 12:45. Okay, so a good 15-20 minutes almost of time it was down below its tripping price, so I'm considering that another positive trade. Again, not extensive stock, and again, would have had to be monitored, but there was opportunity there. OBV showing that it was moving down volume-wise. MACD showing it was moving down averages-wise. Directional indication showing it was moving down, and at the end of the day, heavily downwards. And Bollinger Band moving downwards. So it just happened to be that it was making a little bit of a reversal at the end of the day, but it was still, in general, moving downward. Technically sideways. Bollinger Band's technically showing the stock moving sideways, but you can't see that. During that movement, it was moving a bit downward. So in general, the stock was down, and the result is it ended the day below where it was at. So that's another positive trade. And with that said, even though it's a bit of a tricky aspect for a good portion of the stocks, there's still opportunity. There was opportunity on all the stocks. In general, that's 100% positive outcome on the trades that could have occurred on that day. You can't consider that a better opportunity than that. So, a very, very good day. I'll leave it at that. Thank you very much.